That'd be very good.
All right. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 23rd, 2020 order imposing strict limitations of the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Yarmouth Community and Economic Development Committee is being conducted via remote participation. All votes during this meeting will need to be conducted by roll call. No in-person attendance will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access and participate in the proceedings as provided for in the order. Public participation will be permitted by allowing members of the public to join this meeting via Zoom or via the telephone. Mr. Chairman, just take a roll call to enter into quorum. We can begin the meeting.
Right. Steve, are you here?
I am present.
Joanne?
Present.
Ken, are you here?
Present.
Mary?
Here.
And I'm here as well, Peter Smith, Kyle. So why don't we call the meeting to order and go from there. Energy Commission presentation is the first item on the agenda.
Okay, we're here. I'm Joyce. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, we're here. I'm Joyce Flynn from Energy Committee, and this turns out to be a really good year for Yarmouth residents and businesses, which they certainly deserve after last year. Let me introduce Mike Duffy from Energy Committee, who's our Solarize coach and who was the grant writer on a big grant proposal that went into the State Clean Energy Center. And he's going to help us get greener and less expensive heating and air conditioning on the Cape, but also less expensive installed PV and possibly batteries if anyone's interested in that. Mike, it's yours.
Okay, so we got started on this back in December of 2019. We submitted a proposal to the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center for a grant on their Solarize Massachusetts program. We were fortunate enough to win that grant, which allows us up to $11,000, mainly for marketing and outreach kind of efforts, education. However, given the pandemic, we were expected to be where we are right now about a year ago. So we got bogged down. We had hoped that this whole program would have been finished in calendar year 2020. However, just like everybody else, we're trying to adjust and working with the Clean Energy Center. What we have here, as you can see in this little flyer, actually, that just went out this week to a number of contacts that the volunteers on our program have collected emails within the town. There were about 95 of them. I don't know if any of you folks were on that list or not. Maybe some of you were. And basically as it says, coming to Yarmouth this spring is rooftop solar PV and air source heat pumps, which is going to save the residents and small businesses a ton of money. Not only that, it's going to help us improve and protect our precious environment here on Cape Cod, and especially within Yarmouth. And what this does is the program we're on, it encourages the adoption of these small scale solar projects through a group purchasing model. And the idea there is that cheaper by the dozen. So right now we're in the process of reviewing several proposals that have come in from potential installers of both solar rooftop PV systems as well as air source heat pumps. And we will work with the Clean Energy Center and a contractor, a technical contractor they have on board to select the preferred installers for each one of those systems for the town of Yarmouth. So this is really a partnership between the Clean Energy Center, the town of Yarmouth, who actually holds the monies that the Clean Energy Center is providing, and a community all volunteer team. several of those members are from the Energy Committee, and we have a few non-Energy Committee volunteers as well. But the idea is that we want to get to as many residential people and small business owners to participate at the reduced prices that we're going to get on both the solar PV and the air source heat pumps. It's, as I said, it's a great way to save money. And just as an indication, for instance, right now in 2021, residential incentives available to residents are a 26% federal tax credit, a Massachusetts income tax credit of $1,000 or 15% of the purchase cost of the PV system, whichever is less. Also allows you to participate in the Clean Energy Center's SMART program, which basically provides production-based incentives for a 10-year period where the owner would receive monthly checks from Eversource or their other electricity provider, depending upon how much solar energy they produce that particular month. With regard to the heat pumps, right now, these are also known as mini split heat pumps. You've probably seen them in some of the small businesses around town. I happen to have two myself, and I can vouch for them. I've had them for, I think, going on 10 years now, and they've been great since I didn't have any central air conditioning in here when I moved. And actually, the year that I moved in here, happened to have three of my grandkids here in June. That was June of 2010. And it was, I think we hit 100 degrees. Fortunately, I was out of town on business at the time, but my wife and the three grandkids had to suffer down in the basement to try to cool off. But now we have these air source heat pumps, which keeps everything nice and cool and dry, dehumidifies very well. But anyway, those have an incentive of $250 per ton right now. So plenty of
Mike,
opportunities.
explain to them what the ton is.
That's the ton of heating capacity. These heat pumps, you can either heat your house or cool your house with them. And the heating capacity measured in BTUs per hour, a ton of that BTUs per hour will save you $250 on the purchase price. Also, I might add that there's no sales tax on either the Massachusetts sales tax on either the PV rooftop solar installations or the air source heat pumps. We really want to address not only the residents, but the small businesses. I think a number of small businesses in town could probably benefit greatly once things get spun up now that the pandemic is spinning down. I've heard that virtually all the residential places to rent for this summer have already spoken for. So there's going to be a lot of tourists down here, and they're going to be going through all these small businesses, and you'll want to have it nice and cool and dry in there to welcome them. So with that, is there any questions on this program?
You've met with a number of commercial installers for both of these? This is Peter Smith speaking.
No, we've got, right now, we're in the process of reviewing the proposals, and we'll be setting up interviews with the installers in about a 2-week time frame. We expect to have installers selected by the first week of April or the last week of March. I can't remember exactly what the date is now, but and we would hope to be able to start installing these, well, getting site assessments for PV rooftop installations, certainly beginning mid-April, and the air source heat pumps right around the same time. So the air source heat pumps can be installed within a day. PV rooftop systems could take a month or so after the initial contact by the customer.
Peter,
Oh, sorry.
okay, Peter, this is Joyce Flynn. I was going to say, I'd just like to note the they're really good incentives on this. If everyone has an energy audit, they're eligible for a mass save heat loan. And that can be used for the heat pumps. It can't be used for the PV. And that's for up to $25,000 with 0% interest and terms up to 7 years. That's for residential heat pumps. And then also, if the residential heat pump is used to displace oil, propane, or that awfully wasteful electric resistance heat, then the incentive is 250 a ton. But if you use the a full replacement, then it becomes 1,250 a ton on the replaced heating fuel. The compact also has, we have been successful in getting into the Department of Agriculture's Rural Electricity Services Grant. We hope by the end of May to be able to start writing loans on that will be half a point below the current interest rate. And that would be used for PV, even though the mass heat loans could not be used for PV. So there are a lot of different incentives, loans, and details in this that can greatly reduce the cost, even after Mike's work to get the cost reduced by the quantity of scale.
What is the two questions? What is the scale you need to get the savings? And my second question is, how can CEDC help you in your quest?
Well, to answer the second question, if we could get the flyers, we have this flyer that you see on the screen right now, plus a second flyer that will be available probably next week. But to the extent that you could pass these along to your membership, at least those that are within Yarmouth, that would give them a heads up on what's happening, and that would be helpful. I don't know if you would want to share your membership list with us, then we could contact them directly, either via email, phone call, or virtual meetings.
Right. Okay. Well, the CEDC does not have membership. Obviously one of our members of our committee, Mary, is the head of the Yarmouth Chamber. So, she may be able to help you on that end. But in terms of CEDC, we're a volunteer town committee, so we don't have members. And I don't think we went to the selectmen and said, I want to send to every taxpayer. They would not agree, or they might. I think solar is a great idea. The heat pumps are a great idea. I'm a former banker and financed a number of solar panels on roofs, both for residential and for commercial, and also a number of heat pumps. So it is very good. And I know folks who get statement credit monthly from their provider, and a couple of people in the summertime, their bill is negative. But
in August, amazing.
Yeah, Eversource does not send them a check when the bill is negative. It just builds up over time. They also, because they were in this earlier, they were able to also participate in SRECs, which are solely solar energy renewable energy credits, which can be sold. Is this part of SRECs too, or is this not part of SRECs?
SRECs are different now, so they wouldn't be so favorable as they were for the early adapters. But
okay.
Certainly there's that kind of a market still once one has the net metering connection.
Okay. One other question. I personally participate in a solar farm, and the solar farm is in Marion, and I bought a share. A membership share for X dollars, and in essence, I'm prepaying for electricity, and the solar farm that share that I have should last about 10 years, and I should get effectively a return of about 10% over what I paid. Are you guys thinking about doing any solar farms within the great town of Yarmouth? Has that been considered?
Well, not under this program. Those
Okay.
would be too big. But what you're describing there, I believe, is analogous to the SMART program that's being run by CEC, and that people that are involved in this program would be eligible for. And as a matter of fact, one of our volunteers has a solar PV roof installation right now, and he does get periodic checks from Eversource
Okay.
if he's producing more electricity than he's using. So there's two ways that can work. One is you can produce more than you use, and you get credits on your electric bill that can be carried over. The other is you can also get these periodic checks. Now, I'm not expert on all the financing of what's going on here, but it does seem to me like a win-win situation there.
Right. No, it sounds good. And
Peter, can we answer your first question? We
Absolutely.
have the bids already in. We have 3 solar PV installers bidding on this. So we already have the quotes, which are $2 and some cents kilowatt. So we already have the basic bids. So it doesn't depend, it's not going to depend on whether we get 10 people or 20 people or 50 people. They're assuming there will be a certain quantity of scale.
Right. Have you talked to?
Question on that, Peter, real quick.
Okay. And Kyle, did you see that Ryan came into the meeting?
Yeah, he's here.
Okay, great. Excellent. I'm sorry, it's a little bit off track, but Ryan came in about 1 minute after 4. So I want to make sure he was listed as an attendee. Brian, I'm sorry, you got the floor.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out, the quantity of scale. How do you, what are they cutting the cost down on, right? Because you got installation, you've got the actual hardware equipment, right? So are they just cutting their per hour installation cost? I guess exactly where does the economies of scale come in from that standpoint? And are you talking about all installing them at one time? I guess I'm trying to figure out where you're visioning this economies of scale coming in.
Well,
go ahead, Mike.
The first place it comes in is in their marketing efforts. We'll be doing a lot of that, our volunteer team, generating leads for them. So they're going to walk into Yarmouth, and we're going to have a bunch of leads for them. So they'll be able to go right to work in terms of talking to really prospective customers, not just anybody off the street. And then it's an economy of scale. For instance, this program was run out on the Outer Cape for the four towns out there. And in the 4 towns, they installed 120 systems. If you're going in, I'm not going to say we're going to get 120 in Yarmouth, but if we got 30 or 40 in Yarmouth, and they're coming in not having to do any marketing or anything else like that, they can save a whole lot of money in terms of what it's costing them to put up those systems.
Mm-hmm.
So how are they so I guess my question is, when they respond to the RFPs, how are they doing that? How are they maintaining, how are they pricing that out? I guess I'm confused, because every property is going to be different. I'm the CEO of the Cape Cod and Island Association of Realtors over on Midtech Drive in West Yarmouth, and we went through the solar about a little over a year ago now, right? And we put it on last year, and so I'm familiar with how it worked. But the problem was that what I'm saying, I guess, is that we had the proposals from the solar companies were so varied about what worked on our building and what didn't. And I guess I'm trying to figure out, what are they bidding on? Are they bidding on per square foot, or what exactly is that?
Okay. There's a base case. The Clean Energy Center has established a base case so that everybody's bidding on that base case, so that you have apples to apples comparison. Then each one of the bidders is asked to produce a list of so-called adders for different kinds of things. How much would they add if, for instance, if it was a steep roof, how much would they add if it was a 3-story building instead of a 2-story or a 1-story? Those sorts of things. How much would they charge if there was shading and they had to take down trees? Those sorts of things. So,
Okay.
so that's how they come up with.
And then the last thing is just to let you guys know, we're happy, you know, as a nonprofit in Yarmouth, we're happy to open our books about how much it costs for us as a small business and how much savings we have to kind of use as a case study for you guys if y'all need it. You know, we're getting this is the first year of the complete year of smart income, and we ended up with $5,500 of smart income plus the credits and the savings on the energy bills. So we're happy to open those as a case study up to you guys if y'all need it.
Okay, how
Oh,
big a
that's
system do you
excellent.
have,
Thank you.
Ryan?
I
Ryan,
have to look at those numbers for it, but I mean, 10,000 square foot commercial building. So
do you know who did the installation? Just
my
curious.
generation, they were fantastic. They were the best at walking us through the size system we need versus everyone else. Everyone else wanted to overbuild our system, and so they were the first to really kind of walk us through it in detail about why it mattered with where our building was sited and everything else. So they were fantastic.
Okay.
And Brian, I would just add, it sounds like you've been energy smart. But I'd just add for everybody that, of course, the cheapest watt is the one that you never need. And Cape Lake Compact does have a pandemic special where you get 100% incentivized insulation and weatherization, you know, the air sealing, but then also the cellulose blown in insulation. And at this point, that's running through June 30th. So it would be smart for anybody thinking about this to get their audit in, but especially to get the audit in while they could still take advantage of that. We would like to save Yarmouth people and especially Yarmouth small businesses as much money as possible during a tough year.
Again, it's Peter Smith speaking again. I'm very much in favor of both the solar power and the heat pumps because they work very well. I worked at Cape Cod Cooperative Bank, and their big building up by Shepley's up on the top of the hill. They put in a PV system actually on the hillside because they could. It's not on top of the roof. It's on the hillside, but it faces south. And it was estimated it would take 5 years to pay for all the materials and the engineering and the installation. It was paid for in full in a little over 3 years. And I'm not saying anything out of school. That was in their annual reports given to a lot of folks. So it's a good program. And the solar panels that are being put on now are more efficient than the solar panels that were put on, 10, 12 years ago, which is when that system was originally put in place. I'm speaking for myself, but I think the consensus of the committee is, we will do whatever we can to help you along and push it. But again, we've got no members to send this to. But again, you may want to talk to Mary at the chamber. She may be able to help you more directly.
So Peter,
Yes, we've been in touch.
Right.
yeah,
Okay,
if I was just going to say, first of all, congratulations, because I know the chamber submitted a letter of support when you applied for the funding. So I'm glad you guys were successful in that. And Joyce and I did communicate earlier today. So the chamber will make sure that we get this out to our membership and work closely with you to get any way we can, social media, print. If you guys can get us a couple of these just in a PDF, we can print them here and put them up in our kiosk and things like that, so local residents can see them.
Yeah, and to go back to Ryan's question, it says allow residential and business owners to participate at a reduced cost and gain energy independence. It would be nice if you could put that into English somehow. Typical West Yarmouth house, 1,800 square feet, south facing roof. Typical cost would be X, reduced cost would be Y. Just as a for instance.
Mhm.
Right, good
I
idea.
also think just
Yeah.
adding in that you can get a tax credit, right? That you
Oh,
can get
absolutely.
Yes.
a percentage discount. Those factors catch people's attention really quick.
Can I ask, Mayor, how many members do you have in Yarmouth?
373 as of this morning.
Wow.
That's great.
I was
Well,
also
and
going to say,
chamber members are movers and shakers.
And I mean, let us know information. We can get it out to our realtor members too. We probably have about over 300 realtor members in Yarmouth as well, that we can turn it out to as well. If you want to follow up with me over at the Association of Realtors to get information out to those guys.
That would be excellent. Thank you so much. And we have one other item. Kyle, is Lindsay Henderson signed in?
yep,
I'm on.
Okay. This is just a program that's unique for businesses that's going up May 11th to 13th for the first time ever in Yarmouth. And we hope it'll help somehow. Lindsay? Oh, as senior analyst at Cape Light Compact.
Want me to take it away, Joyce?
Yep.
Hi, everybody. Lindsay Henderson, Senior Analyst with Cape Light Compact. My title's changed a few times over the years, so I have trouble keeping it straight sometimes. I manage the small business energy efficiency programs for the Compact. So we're excited this year. We're doing what's called a Main Street effort for our small businesses in each of the towns on the Cape and the Vineyard. So 21 efforts we're going to be doing over the course of the spring and the fall. So what that is we'll be working with our energy efficiency vendors, Rise Engineering and National Resource Management, to go door to door to our businesses in a targeted area in town that, is under participating, to try to get them to install energy efficiency measures. So we'll have on the spot installations like screw-in light bulbs, faucet aerators, thermostats, those sorts of things that can be installed quickly. And then we'll do additional energy saving opportunities. We'll create follow-up appointments with those businesses for items like, mechanical systems and lighting fixtures that might be a little bit more involved than what time would allow during this period. So for Yarmouth, you folks are going to be scheduled from May 11th through the 13th. So what we will be doing is sending out a save the date flyer to our targeted customer area, which we are currently in the process of determining which part of town that would be in for Yarmouth. So about a month in advance, we'll send out that save the date flyer. And then a couple weeks in advance of the date, we will send out an actual letter to folks that has more details about what we will be doing. Basically, all they need to do is just be ready for us, have a decision maker on site, just so we can make quick decisions and quick installations and it doesn't delay the process. And then they're more than welcome to make an appointment if they want an appointment for one of the specified days that we're going to be there. So the role that the town would play, we're just looking for some partnership with the town. I think some of the conversations regarding a town seal would need to go through the town administrator. But Mary, I know you're on the call. We would be interested if the chamber wanted to partner with us. We would use your logo on the letter and the flyer and your signature just to help give validity to this program, so that folks don't think, it's a scam or anything like that. It just helps to have some trusted partners on there. So yeah, we're really excited to be doing this, and just wanted to bring this forward to folks as an FYI. Joyce, I don't know if you wanted to add anything as well.
No, I'd just say that I remember that there's a dog grooming operation on Route 28 in South Yarmouth that saved enormous amounts on electric resistance heat through one of the compact commercial efforts. Apparently, it was necessary to have the air conditioning on while they were blow drying poodles. Go figure.
She's not there anymore, but that's good to know. So how do you identify the location, Lindsay?
So what our vendor Rise Engineering right now is working on pulling the customer data. So they have all of our historical participation data. So what they'll be looking for is kind of the greatest concentrated area of businesses that haven't participated. Because the idea with this is ultimately, going door to door, whether that's, driving a short distance, but we want to try to target in a specific part of town based off of, the lack of prior participation.
I was just gonna say, that's a pretty tough time of year right before Memorial Day.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think, it's going to be a little bit challenging, I think. But in order to get, I think, everybody in, we have a very short window, as you know, Mary, to kind of grab,
I know.
This time of year is tough because businesses aren't there yet. So we're trying to squeeze in, but at least, if they're not around that time or want to schedule something later in the year, they could have that opportunity as well.
And if we identify someone that's not in that specific area, can we reach out to you?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're always welcome to give us a call, or we also have an online sign up for energy assessments on our capelightcompact.org website. So they're more than welcome at any time to sign up for an energy assessment now. They don't have to wait for that time period.
Okay, great.
Peter, I have a quick question. Lindsay, thanks for joining us. Joanne Crowley here. Those businesses that are in a building that are both commercial downstairs and the owner might live upstairs. I personally know of some businesses that have had difficulty kind of qualifying for the evaluations because of the commercial nature of part of the building. And then, the roof is over both of them if there's insulation, and like, what complications have you seen or hurdles that those kinds of coexisting commercial residence business properties might have, because there are several of them?
There are, and it is something we're trying to streamline. Unfortunately, how the commercial programs are structured are very different from residential, how it's structured. So, with, not to get into the weeds or anything with folks, but on the commercial side, it's how our savings are calculated, and the incentives are based a lot on the hours of use for a business. And that could change. Like, you don't have one typical business, there's so many different business structures, business types, whereas like generally a house is a house. So it's definitely more variable on the commercial sides of things. But in those instances of the mixed use buildings, we do try to coordinate as much as possible with, luckily it's the same vendor that handles both of our commercial and residential programs. So we coordinate internally. If we get a commercial assessment and we find out there's an apartment, we'll make sure that the residential counterpart at Rise Engineering also goes out and addresses those. It's tricky. It's definitely tricky. I mean, we try to address them as much as possible. If the attic is over the apartment and not the building, generally I think we can serve them through the residential program. But it depends on the situation.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking of one of our more famous main streets, 6A. There are quite a few businesses who fall into that category of real estate office on the bottom, a Ross Jolly on the bottom, and apartments on the top. I mean, those old structures are very frequently on that important main street are for dual purposes.
Right. Yeah, and we would address both of them to the best that we could under the current guidelines, which we are working to improve our programs, but it becomes a much larger conversation. Yeah, it's way above me. Evaluation gets involved, and unfortunately it's a little bit complicated, but it is something that we're working to address so that we can better serve customers in those situations.
Excellent. Does anybody else have any questions or comments that they'd like to make? Hearing none, thank you very much for coming. Again, I personally very much agree with what you're trying to do, and I will pass it around to people I know and stuff. I think it's a great idea. And
thank you very much, and we'll make sure to pass along the final the final flyer to you folks and materials as well.
All right, excellent.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and Joyce, the other thing is I can share anything on the town social media pages too. So just send stuff along to me as well.
Oh, Kyle, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Have a good meeting.
Yep, thank you. Kyle, next item on the agenda, if you would please.
Yep, your next item is reorganization of committee officers. So you guys have a chairman, a vice chairman, and you also need to determine who's going to be the representative to the design review committee and the representative to the drive-in site committee. That discussion should probably take place when Jack's present because he is currently both of those.
Right.
So not sure if he wants to continue or if he wants to give up one or what. But you guys are certainly welcome to, you should probably do a chairman and a vice chairman. I don't think we've done that in a while. If you want to reaffirm the current one, that'd be fine. However you guys want to handle it, but you should vote on it yearly as a part of, part of the process. So with that, let you guys take it away.
We just wait for Jack.
Well, I think you can talk about chairman and unless you want to wait for Jack for that as well, which would
Right.
make
So we can go ahead with the chair and vice chair. So I'm gonna well, nominate in the form of a motion, Peter as chair and Ken as vice chair.
There's
I'll
a,
second.
there's a motion on the table. Do you want to do them one at a time or you made the motion for both? There's a motion on the table for chair and vice chair. Is there a second?
Right here.
Mary's made a second. And we have a second. Any questions? Any
Are
comments?
you willing to continue to serve?
The answer is yes, I'm willing to serve. There's a but that goes with that statement, though. I've been asked to run for selectman.
Ah, good for you.
Right. I don't know whether it's like,
Are they freaking crazy? Oh, sorry.
what nasty comment did you make, Ryan? Which is probably true.
Are you sure you want to do that?
I don't know, to be absolutely honest. I have.
It's a public meeting that is recorded, just to let you know, Peter.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I'm being truthful. I pulled papers and I bought a sign. So you might see the signs around. I pulled the papers and stuff. My wife isn't thrilled that I'm even considering this thing because it's a lot of time. I very much enjoy the CEDC. So I'm more than willing to serve. But if I get elected, I would have to resign from CEDC.
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations. And if you do decide, I'll be in your corner for sure.
Right.
Let's move on. Number two is I don't see any problem with us. Kyle, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you are fortunate enough to win, then I think we can revisit at that point in time and name a successor.
Absolutely.
Right. I've got nomination papers that need a minimum of 50 legitimate signatures. So I'll leave the board outside my house at 21 Perch Pond Way, also at 111 Center Street, which if you ever go down to Center Street down to Bass Hole, there's a gentleman who always has a million signs out. There's also papers there on his porch to be signed.
Okay.
Right. There was a motion and there was a second. All in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call. I'm Steve.
Yes.
Joanne.
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Motion carries for both positions.
So if Jack,
I do demand a tripling of my salary, though. Same with Ken.
I'll see what we can do about that.
I'll second that, Peter.
So if Jack arrives at the meeting, we can talk about your two appointees. Otherwise, we'll wait until he's at the next meeting.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to wait to see what Jack wants to do.
Private site, and what's the other board he served, appointee he serves?
Design Review Committee.
Well, he's on design review.
Right, yes.
And Joanne, you're our member who's also on planning board.
Yeah, but she's from planning board here, not the other way around.
Correct.
Right.
All right, so if that item is complete, your next item is the CEDC goal review. The couple of things I put in your packet just to kind of set the stage is your committee charge, your goals from last year, and the Board of Selectmen mission and goals to try to kind of align with them. So I'll pull up the goal page, and I don't know how you guys want to discuss, but if you want to go line by line, or
I looked at it and read it, and I'm not sure we really need to make any changes in the thing.
I have just a couple of editorial suggestions, not that a group rewrite is really where we want to go. But I did want to incorporate the vision word where we could. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were at the charge. I apologize.
No.
I'm on the wrong chart. Sorry.
Yeah, the CEDC goals as of March of last year, right before the world ended.
yeah.
I was just going to suggest on bullet number 4 that we put in identify and expand local, regional, and state partnerships to advance economic growth.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I will add that in.
That's a good comment.
Yep.
And then
My
I
one
had,
comment on if I could offer kind of a suggestion of a potential priority for you guys going forward. I mean, I think the two biggest things facing the towns from my perspective in terms of projects that need to be completed to improve quality of life for residents and visitors. I mean, it's obviously wastewater is number one. Number two in my mind is broadband. To figure out broadband, the last mile solution would be a really big boon for the town of Yarmouth.
Yeah.
I think
Kyle.
reaching out to the town of Falmouth, who's made a lot of headway in this area, might be something we want to look into at some point.
Yeah, I've sat there on several Falmouth presentations. They seem to be making a lot of headway. Kyle, I have a question for you though. Like wastewater, there's already a committee kind of charged with trying to, spearhead that and move that forward.
Right.
Does broadband fall under anyone's kind of purview, or is that a goal, like an initiative, infrastructure initiative that this committee can take on because it's not falling to anyone right now?
It's not falling to anyone right now. It
That's
might
the
have to
problem.
fall on you guys, kind of thing.
Okay.
Hey, Kyle, wasn't there a broadband committee at one time though in town?
It's a good question. Not that I'm aware of. Not
yeah.
during my time.
Yeah, I think it goes back a little ways, but at one point I think that, or let's put it this way, I think they were trying to develop one.
Gotcha. Well, it might be something we might need to look back into.
So I don't have a problem with that, Kyle. I think that's a great suggestion. My only concern is two things. One is where are the Board of Selectmen with us getting behind the broadband initiative? And second of all, when the new town manager gets on board, where is he going to be on this thing? 'Cause I just don't want us.
Right. We all got to be rolling in the
know,
same motion, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of same thing I wanted to talk about later on if we get a chance to on the drive-in site committee too.
Yeah.
So,
And then I
Absolutely.
guess I would look at the language change. I don't want to review and evaluate the special event program. I think we all have talked about the problems with it. And I would just like to change, review, and evaluate to reform.
Okay.
Because I think we all kind of agree it needs to be reformed at some level. And we're not
Yeah.
sure what it looks like, but I think we've done enough review and evaluating.
And I believe we had previously talked about bringing in the people from Provincetown to talk about their process. I don't know if you guys still have an interest in doing that, but we could try to set that up for one of your upcoming meetings.
Yeah, that'd be good. I think that's a good
so
idea.
maybe, I think that would be good. And so putting an action step maybe with some of these with a time. So like Kyle, your suggestion right now with Provincetown, knowing that normally we put out the application in the fall, right? Is that, yeah. So maybe we need to say, by August 1st, we're already talking to Provincetown, or by July 1st, so that we have there's actually, an action step that needs to be completed so that we're ready to reform in and launch the new program in the fall if we need to.
Right. And again, as you know, Mary, that's the crazy time starting in Provincetown. So it may be difficult to get them to come. And obviously they would come via Zoom.
Right.
Right.
They would not drive down. And if push comes to shove, we would have to go there for a meeting.
Yeah, and I was just using an example of, you know,
Yeah. But you're
an
right.
action step with a date.
Okay. I do think, Peter, that if we're gonna get any input out of Provincetown, it would need to be done in the spring at some point.
Yep. And
Which is probably good for us.
yeah, the
Yes.
sooner the better. And I know the town is gearing up and saying their 3 Hail Marys every day that it's going to be a good season. And the few folks I'm still in contact with, their hospitality is booked.
Everything's booked across the Cape, Peter. I mean, but Provincetown especially, you know, but what we're seeing all the time in short-term rentals is the conversation I've heard is the problem is you have those that, especially out of Provincetown, I've heard those that come every year for the festivals running up against those that came last year, all wanting
Right.
weeks. And that's becoming the biggest issue. Those that missed last year, took last year off, now running against a whole new crowd of people coming all over the Cape.
Right.
I can tell you between the phone calls and the visitors this week, people are going to be coming. There's no question.
Yeah, would, you know, the two different hats that I wear, Peter, the hat for Daniel Webster, our advanced reservations for the summertime are up about 60% over last year. And then my other hat working for Ferran Realty, our advanced sell for, you know, short-term rentals. We're basically, I mean, there's still a few weeks left to go for July and August, but we're basically 100%. So
Yeah. On
Excellent.
the short-term rental side, everyone says they're like 60, 70% on the short-term rental side booked now. They're all over 95% at this point.
yeah, 97.2, Ryan, at Ferran.
And you're checking these people to make sure they're coming with their credit cards, all with high limits and zero balances.
And y'all did,
And
I mean, Mary, I know you did obviously, but you did see the travel order change yesterday that vaccinated people do not have to quarantine or test.
I thought we put it out in the email today.
Yep,
You
we
did.
did.
That's why I
You
said I
did.
know you saw it because I saw your email as well, but yeah.
You did, Mary. I saw it.
I was going to say, I thought we did.
No, you did. I just want to make sure everyone else on the call heard of that too, you know?
yeah,
Good.
I've got shot number 1, and I'm
Me too.
scheduled shot number 2 at the very end of this month.
Yeah,
Me
me
too.
too.
I'm apparently too healthy and young, Kyle, right? You know, we're apparently too healthy and young right now.
Ryan, let's hope both.
That are on the
Let's hope
call.
both.
And anybody else have any tweaks they'd like to make to the goals? I think those are all good. And I know we're coming up to 5 o'clock, so I don't want to give anybody the bum's rush. If we need to revisit this, we can always revisit it.
Yeah, and I'll to Mary's point, I'll try to add some action items to these to the best I can, and maybe we can.
You know, and Kyle, with the date, and I'm more than happy, like, to help in any way. I know the staff is on overload, but any way we can help, we're happy to. And I'm gonna can I throw one more idea out or no?
Well, can I ask a question on here before you get into a new concept before we move on, Mary?
Sure.
Well,
Like the roadway banner project implementation, we're still working on that?
No, we're not. So that's something that needs to be updated. I didn't even look at this.
Oh,
before.
that's what I was making sure. Okay. Like I'm town signage project. Do we still have things to do, Kyle, or are we done?
There's a lot to do on the town signage project, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, that's never gonna.
Okay.
Steve, you had your hand up?
well, Ken's had his hand up before I did.
Okay, Ken?
Yeah, I guess my only comment, Peter, was that, and Kyle was kind of leading towards it, is that we, rather than, I think it's a great document. I think what's on here is 100% appropriate for what we're trying to do. But I do think rather than just making it and having it sit on the shelf for 12 months before we revisit it, I would like to see us roll it out, a couple times a year and just kind of keep it updated. Where are we with this stuff? So.
Excellent idea. Yeah, keep it on the front burner so we don't forget about it.
Yeah, I'm hoping that adding action items will help that, because then we can actually kind of like check off the action items as they get done.
That'd be great.
Right, Steve?
If I may, Kyle, maybe we could also align a budget against these goals, how much we're investing in each of these areas, if that's possible, if we were to take the line item of our funding and try to maybe get an idea of how we look at the priority of our investments
Sure.
vis-a-vis what we have. Not
Okay.
sure that's an easy crossover, but
It's not, it'll be kind of tough in some of them, but like develop plan for physical improvements and review and evaluate special events. I can assign some values to that because you guys have buckets for those. So
Yeah, and again, I think, Joanne, I think that's a great idea. And in addition, we do know that a certain percentage of our budget has to be towards physical improvement. So Kyle, if you don't necessarily have to put a dollar sign in front of some of those amorphous ones, but percentage of budget.
yeah, it's 20 to 40% for physical improvements.
Yeah. And Steve, we keep stepping on you.
No, that's really just to make sure that we can always adjust this going forward. But Joanne, as you get toward the close of your work with the master plan update, I just want to make sure there's dovetailing in with what you're finding out as far as the economic development piece of that master plan comes up with. That's all.
that's a good idea. We may, based on what the results, the preliminary results are, yeah, we might want to some of these, yeah.
Yeah, we
Steve,
can
you're right.
revisit once we
Yep.
get that visioning information.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Is Kathy waiting in the wings for us?
No, I have an update on that.
Can
If
I
you're
just
ready
get
to
one
move
more
on.
suggestion? One
Yep.
more suggestion, and I know Kyle doesn't like this suggestion when I bring it up. But I'm going to suggest that and compile an inventory of vacant properties in town.
That's,
And that, you know, some of these buildings I look at and some developers we talk to that are interested in coming to Yarmouth, if we were able to have the square footage, some of the detailed information about them for these people to look at, just a pass through at least, it would be so much easier. On our website, we put the listing link that Robert Ciavara suggested it, and we're surprised how many people have actually gone to it. So it's just a suggestion.
Ryan, would you have that information by any chance?
Well, vacant, I mean, we have what's for sale and Kyle has a link on their website, right, Kyle, with that?
Yeah, we actually had to take that down because we got a complaint from somebody that it wasn't.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have just Yarmouth. You have to put in the Yarmouth zip code.
No,
Oh,
it did have
I
just
can set it up where
Yarmouth.
it's just Yarmouth.
It did have just Yarmouth. The problem was that it just listed stuff that was on the MLS.
Yeah,
But there's a lot more, and I'll give you the example, 7-Eleven, right? It's a vacant property. Who's the owner? Maybe there's somebody that would be interested in that location that would make an offer, you know? Instead of trying to build a brand new building, a developer may be interested in an existing vacant building.
yeah, there's not really a link you could give that would list everything for sale then at that time then, if, you know, because in the commercial world.
Disagree, but okay.
That 7-Eleven location, I'm surprised somebody hasn't snapped that up because I think that's a prime location.
I don't think it's for sale. So right before the pandemic hit, they had a proposal to reopen. And
Right.
then we never heard anything. So, okay, that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
I used to get my penny candy there with the former owner when I was a kid. We got about 2 minutes left, and everybody's got a couple of people have to leave right at 5 o'clock. So I think we're going to be having to carry forward a number of the items.
Yeah, it was just the Kathy discussion, which we were planning on carrying forward anyway. She's not even here tonight. That's what I was
Okay.
connecting. No,
D-
nope,
But
nope.
should we also be looking at the selectmen's goals and stuff to make sure that we link with theirs? Kyle, that's a question, not a statement.
Yeah, you know, their one goal is expand their one goal about economic development is expand economic growth, development, and redevelopment efforts to increase year-round employment, tourism, and quality of life. I think your goals,
Cover that, yeah.
cover
Yeah,
that.
they align with that.
So, and provide robust community programming for all residents. You certainly align with that. So I'd say you're in alignment with their goals.
Okay, okay.
My update on the drive-in site.
Yeah,
So you guys had previously, this is going to be a bigger discussion for you guys to discuss at the next meeting on the 25th. The meeting on the 25th will be drive-in site, and also Mary Wagon will be coming to talk about the CDBG action plan. So this was a note from Karen that, through lessons learned from last summer and looking at the beta contract, which was the other thing you guys funded, which is the design aspect of the event space.
yeah,
Really, what we really need is a sound study that recommends a stage location and where the sound equipment should be set up to minimize impacts on the neighboring community. And that's going to be the primary input that's needed for beta to then develop a site layout. So with that in mind, the scope of work that you previously agreed to with Fifth Element for their consultant work may need to be amended, because what we really need out of them or someone like them is a sound study. But you guys didn't fund necessarily just a sound study. So that's a bigger discussion that needs to take place on the 25th. And Kathy Williams will have to be here. She knows a lot more about it than I do.
Okay.
But just so you know, that it'll be, we're planning on having it as an item on the 25th.
okay, excellent, excellent.
Yeah, Pete, can I just weigh in? I know people got to run, but Kyle, I think at some point in time, I was on the meeting yesterday at the drive-in site.
Yep.
I was just hanging out in the background there. But a couple of folks raised a very good point, and that is, where the heck is the Board of Selectmen on this thing? If we're going to run off doing one thing on design and another thing on sound and testing, we got to know that, and I picked this up from 2 or 3 of the people on the drive-in site committee. Where is the Board of Selectmen? Everyone feels like they're getting hung out there. So nobody's really willing to take that extra step that's really needed. I got a bunch of other things I want to talk about that whole thing, but that I think has to be first and foremost. I'm sorry to bother everyone. I know it's a lot to drop on at the 11th hour here, but I think we need to have some focus on that at the next meeting, Peter, before we go down any more votes to provide money.
And we will hopefully have that, maybe not the level of direction that we're hoping for from the Board of Selectmen, but there'll be additional direction because they are going to be talking about it at the next meeting next Tuesday.
Yeah, I know that, Steve, your question has come up a couple of times, and hopefully we were going to get direction from the selectmen.
Yeah.
Because you're right.
That's what we're kind of
If
hoping
they
for.
say no and we're trying to do this, it's a waste of time and potentially money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we know budgets are tight.
And Steve, I know you requested that the copy of the memo be sent to the CEDC. Once it gets finalized, I'll definitely send that out as an FYI to everybody.
Do you want to tell everyone what that memo is about?
Yeah, it was just recommendations from the drive-in site utilization committee to the Board of Selectmen about the kind of variables and factors that they're going to have to take into consideration with their discussion next Tuesday. And they really are adamant that the Board of Selectmen are going to have to make somebody a point person to actually respond to all the inquiries that are coming in and make determinations. So that might be like the biggest, I don't know who they're going to be able to do. I'm willing to do that, but I can't make decisions on behalf of the Board of Selectmen. I can't write agreements. So,
No, absolutely no. Wouldn't expect you to.
Yeah.
Has everybody read the minutes? At least we could, get that covered.
Yes.
Okay, so the
Yes.
minutes of February 18th. Is there
Motion
a
to
motion
approve.
to accept?
Motion to accept.
There's a motion by Steve to accept. Is there a second? I'm not hearing a second.
Joanne seconded, but speaker's off.
Okay, Joanne
Second.
seconded. Okay, so there's a motion and there's a second to accept the meetings of February 18th as presented, and of course, you're willing to waive the reading of the minutes. That's perfect. All in favor? Ken?
Yes, aye.
All right, Joanne?
Yes.
Ryan?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I wasn't here because I screwed up. So I'm gonna abstain since we have enough votes. So the motion carries. So we've got the next meeting on the 25th. And so I think we're pretty much all set with the agenda as well, right, Kyle?
Yeah, so like I said, it'll be drive-in site, and Mary Wagon will be looking for feedback on her CDBG action plan. And then
Okay.
I was thinking about the following meeting, having Jeff Colby coming in to talk to you guys about the Yarmouth Port Common Drainage
Yep.
report and
That'd be great.
beautification
Good.
team.
Right.
Hey, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just so I will not be at the 25th meeting. I'll be at Fenway Park getting my shot or wherever I have to go. So
Good luck.
Right. And Kyle, I got a question for you. Were you on the BC basketball team in 78, 79? Were you part of the point shaving?
My dad was a senior then. He had classes with a few of the guys.
I was listening to a podcast, and it said, "Oh, the next one's coming up. It's the Boston College point
Henry
shaving."
Hill. Yeah, the
I
good. the convention-
completely
convention-
forgot about that.
Henry Hill. A cool story.
There were three members of the basketball team hooked up with the mafia to shave points on games.
Yeah.
And the last game that ended the problem was a game against a little team up on Mount St. James.
Holy Cross.
Right. And BC Holy Cross was favored by, I think it was 10, and BC almost beat them, and they lost by 2 points. And the main mafia guy, who happened to be a good Irish boy, lost like $80,000 and wanted to kill the three BC guys. One of the BC guys went to jail for 4 years. One of them, who was a choir boy, got off scot-free, which was amazing.
He wasn't a choir boy. That guy was the worst of them, but yeah, we don't need to discuss it.
And then one of the guy who at the time had the highest scoring average for BC ever, was going to be in the NBA and nobody would take him. And he ended up playing basketball in Israel for 17 years. And,
Oh.
and
Who was the coach at Holy Cross?
at the time,
Yeah.
I can't remember. Blaney, maybe? I think it was George
Yeah, I was
Blaney.
going to say Blaney. Judge
I think
Blaney.
it was Blaney, yeah. Right. Since I've tainted BC a little bit, when there was a guy by the name of Bob Cousy who played for Holy Cross, and there was some suggestions that he was taking gambling money back in the late 40s, early 50s, but that was never proved.
Well, he is one of the best coaches in Boston College basketball history. So
Right. He did coach. He did coach. Holy Cross recruited him and BC recruited him, and obviously BC paid him more money. So he
Well,
went to
he had a very nice home in Worcester, Massachusetts. So
still does.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I was going to say he still does. He's still
He
alive,
does,
isn't he? Yeah, he's still alive.
yes,
Right.
he is.
Yeah. No, it's a very nice home right behind Notre Dame Academy.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn. Mary, are you ready for that?
I am. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
The second.
Kyle, you can assume that motion, I took a roll call and everyone was in favor.
all right.
Great. Again, thank you very much.